I'm going to go off the PowerPoints for a little bit and I'm going to go into the notes that I created for this chapter. So right now I'm going to talk about frequency distributions, and let me make this bigger on my screen. Okay. So frequency distributions are just a way to organize data that are in a data set. Frequency is the number of times a value appears in a certain data set. Relative frequency is basically the number of times a value appears in a data set divided by the total number of values in the data set. And a cumulative relative frequency is all of the previous relative frequencies to the relative frequency for the current row. I'm going to walk you through this step by step to show you how easy these are, just so you can understand. So below I have an example of data of 20 students' hours for studying. So you can see I have 2, 3, 2, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 7, 0, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Okay, so to make a frequency table, I need to divide my groups, divide it by the data. So what I'm going to see is I see 0 is my lowest value. So I need to make at least 5 classes. So I'm going to start with 0, and I'm going to go 0 to 1, 2 to 3, 4 to 5, 6 to 7, 8 to 9. So I made 5 classes. You don't have to get bogged down on making the classes. The homework will already have the classes made for you. So you really don't have to worry about that. I just want you to see how I did them. Okay, so now that I've made my classes, the next thing I need to do is I need to add up the frequencies for each group. So using the same data set, I need to see how many zeros and ones I have. So if I go look at the data set, I have 0 happening once, and then I have 3 ones. So if I add those together, I get 4. Now, I'm not actually adding the 0 plus the 1 plus the 1 plus the 1. That's not what I'm doing. I'm looking to see how many values I have that are either zeros or ones. So for the second group, I have 6 2s and 4 3s. So 6 plus 4 is 10. So my frequency in this group is 10. So I went ahead and started making all these and finished up this table. So for 0 to 1, I have 4, 2 to 3, 10, 4 to 5, 4, 6 to 7, 1, and 8 to 9, 1. So now if I go across, I've got to get the relative frequency. So the relative frequency is pretty easy. If you go back, remember I was talking about 20 students. And if you forgot that, you can count up how many values are in that data set. So all I'm doing with the relative frequency is I'm going into the first group and I'm doing 4, which is my frequency, over 20, which is everybody in the data set. So I get 0.20. If I go to 2 to 3 and I go 10 over 20, I get 0.50. If I go to 4 to 5, I get 0.20, 6 to 7, 0.05, and 8 to 9, 0.05. That's how I get my relative frequencies. Now, the cumulative frequencies sometimes are tough to understand, so I've done it step by step for you. And you don't have to put in all the work once you understand how it is. So for the first class, 0 to 1, I have 4 as my frequency. My relative frequency is 0.20. Well, I have no more cumulative frequencies before that, so my cumulative frequency for the first class is 0.20. If I go to the hours of 2 to 3 and I go down and go to cumulative frequency, what I did is I took the cumulative frequency from the first class and added it to the second class to get 0.70. Third class, I go ahead and take what I did for the first two cumulative relative frequencies, and I add it to that one. So as you can see, all I'm doing is cascading down and adding my relative frequencies up as I go down. My last cumulative relative frequency should be 1 because I need to account for all of the data that was in this data set, and I've done that. Another way to think of this is your relative frequencies are basically just the part over the whole of this group of data. Your cumulative relative frequencies, while it kind of looks kind of hard to understand, we use this for graphing when we get to chapter 2. So you don't have to get caught up on what it means now. You just have to understand how to do it. I hope this has made it easier to understand frequency distributions. Let me know if you have any questions.